Hey there, I'm Elisa. I'm the Half Asian Tarot Queen. Thanks for checking out my channel. I'm looking at the Star Child Tarot right now. This is a deck which I love. I love the artwork. And so I'm going to start with this deck just to pull some overall energies. I've got the Eight of Cups on the bottom of the deck. So this is kind of a walking away from something that no longer serves you, on the road to something better, but something that you've invested a lot into. So there's, there's a lot of emotion involved in the move. But I'm gonna keep pulling cards and see if we can get some more insight into what's going on. If you're new to the channel, thank you. Thanks for checking it out. One aspect of this channel that I would mention is that the videos on this channel are not arranged in the standard way, in the sense that they're not arranged according to date or according to zodiac sign. They are arranged according to, oh my gosh, weird, storylines. So I have them threaded together according to storylines, so that if there's a storyline that resonates with you, you can connect to the other videos that are related. And it's really interesting because right now we're kind of rounding out the decade, we're rounding out the year, and there have been a number of threads or storylines that have been kind of recurring on the channel, and there's definitely a changing of a guard or a climax that's happening with a lot of them. And it's cool because there's like, it's like a daytime soap opera. There's these independent storylines, but then periodically they like come together. Certain ones will intersect, and come together in this beautiful way. So I've really been getting a lot out of just like watching the rhythm of how that happens, because I'm learning a lot about human nature from just observing. So on that note, if you're confused about the storyline sort of organizational method, there is a video on the main page of the channel that it kind of explains that in more depth if you're interested. Okay, so back to the reading. We have, for overall energies, we have the Three of Cups, we have the Nine of Wands, we have the Eight of Cups, and then we have the Three of Swords. So this is really interesting because there has been this slow progression, especially in the last week. And, I keep doing different readings, but they kind of keeps reverting to the same sort of situation. But it's slowly evolving, So the Three of Cups speaks to, a reunion that could be happening, which makes sense because it's the holidays and a lot of people, get together. But this is happy, And then we have the Nine of Wands. So this is kind of like it's like the Wounded Warrior card in a traditional deck. So it's sort of like you're kind of at the end of the of your rope, but you have some fight in you that's left. But you're ready for things to change. And then the next card we have is the Eight of Cups again, which is kind of walking on from a situation that you've invested a lot in, and it is a change. You're walking forward into something new. But then the next card we have is the Three of Swords, which is a card of heartbreak. So it's like part of what's maybe held you in this situation for so long is that you have invested a lot into it, and it is going to be heartbreaking to somebody when you move on, but it's just like you can't take it anymore, And then there's like a reunion card. So it's like there's been a thread, and it actually is called Reunion, and it's about this this love situation. And if you could look in the epic love saga too, But it's just, you know, somebody's been wanting to go towards the situation for some time, but it's been blocked, you know, by a toxic situation. And this would kind of suggest that, because it's just like, you know, I'm just ready to move on, you know, but someone's been held back by some sort of heartbreak. So I'm going to pull some more cards and see if we can get more insight into what's going on here. This is a White Sage Tarot, which this is a deck that's local to Minneapolis, where I was just living. You know, this is me walking away from some toxic situations. Like, that's definitely happening for me. But the artwork is beautiful, and it's actually a, you know, pretty inexpensive deck, and it comes in a nice little tin. And yeah, so perhaps you'll be inspired by this. I was looking on Amazon last night, and I think it's a fairly inexpensive deck, and the artwork is beautiful. I love this deck, so, you know, maybe this is a deck that you might want to add to your collection. I'm going to pull some cards to just get some general energies and see if we can get more insight into what's been going down here. But yeah, this does look pretty epic and apropos for rounding out a decade, you know, like ending some sort of heartbreaking situation and moving towards something better. But, you know, it's just like you've stayed in it long enough that you've kind of worn yourself out, and you're ready to move on. So, oops. I'll pull a couple more cards and see where we're at. But yeah, this was coming up in yesterday's reading. It was very huge in the New Moon in Capricorn and Ring of Fire Solar Eclipse readings. And I think, you know, it is the end of the decade, and people are moving on and, you know, evaluating, like, where they want their life to go for the next decade. So, you know, I think it makes sense that a lot of people are kind of moving on from situations and moving towards new situations. But, you know, there's you know, we're all humans and we're all connected, so there's going to be impacts from that, obviously, you know. Okay, so we have the Seven of Wands at the bottom here. So this is a card of standing your ground, you know, and kind of defending your decisions. So, you know, that goes along with what I was just saying. It's just like, yeah, you know, change is hard. Not everyone's going to agree with what you want to do or the direction that you want to go. And so sometimes you really gotta stand your ground, you know, against a lot of resistance. So, just going to keep going with the energies here. So we have the Seven of Swords, and the Page of Wands, and we have the Nine of Pentacles. So this is a card, it's a liar, cheater, thief card. It can be, or it's just like a card of a deception in general. So it could be, you could be deceiving yourself, you could be deceiving someone else. Like, it can go a number of different ways. And then the next card we have is the Page of Wands. So this is a new spark. It could be a message coming in. But it's like a fiery, passionate message. It's like an inspiration. It's like a light bulb moment. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles. So this is a swinging singles card. This has come up a lot too, and I always associate it with this Frank Sinatra song, I Did It My Way. So this is someone who's financially independent, you know, they're on their own, they don't really need anyone, they've kind of figured out how to make things work, you know, on their own. So it looks like, you know, whoever this is that's been maybe they're moving on from the situation that's not working for them, and they've been kind of inspired to kind of go out on their own, but maybe there's some sort of deception here. So it's just sort of like, I'm not sure if this is self-deception or if they're deceiving someone else. I'm going to keep going and see if we can get some more insight into what that actually means. Then on the next row we have the Empress. So this is interesting because this is a divine counterpart of an emperor. We have the Eight of Swords, and then we have the Queen of Wands, which is the one on the cover of this deck. So it's interesting that this Seven of Swords is falling right over this Empress card, which is like the divine counterpart. So it's just like this person has this new spark to go out on their own, but they're falling right over this divine counterpart. So perhaps, you know, maybe they just need to clear their head, because they clearly need to move on from whatever situation they're in, because it's not working for them. But, you know, maybe the first step is that they need to go out on their own, but ultimately they're deceiving themselves, because really deep down somewhere they're motivated by this other person here, you know. They can't really acknowledge that to themselves maybe right now. Like, this is sort of hidden. And then when we go under the new spark, this fresh new idea, we have the Eight of Wands. So there's, this came up yesterday. There's like a lot of anxiety that's associated with this moving forward. And so perhaps that's part of why they can't really acknowledge that they have maybe some feelings for this Empress, because this is going to be maybe heartbreaking to somebody else. So instead of doing that, they just need to move forward into their own independence first and clear their head so that they can get some perspective on what's going on. But what's interesting is that this Independent card falls right over the Queen of Wands card, which this Queen of Wands has been coming up a lot, and it can often signify the other woman, you know. So it's interesting because they're going right to this Independent card that's right over this other woman, you know. So it looks like there might be some layers that are going on here, you know. Somebody clearly needs to move on from this heartbreaking situation. And, you know, there's this reunion card here, which kind of suggests that they're moving towards someone else, you know, but maybe they're not really able to acknowledge that to themselves right now. So they're just kind of not acknowledging the full extent of what this situation entails, you know. And so we're starting with the first step, which is just stepping out on your own without, you know, the future layers. So I'm gonna pull 3 more cards of guidance from the Star Child Tarot and see if we can get some more insight. Oh my gosh, this card came out, I put it back, and it came out again. And yeah, I'm gonna pull 1 more card and see where we go. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh, wow. Interesting. Okay, so over this Seven of Swords Empress card, we have the Two of Swords. So there's a stalemate, you know, like this kind of supports what I was saying, you know, like someone's sort of deceiving themselves about this Empress, about this counterpart. Like they're not able to acknowledge that to themselves at this point. That's causing a stalemate. So that's interesting. And then on top of this anxiety and this new inspiration, there's this Eight of Wands. So quick moving action, and you know, change is happening and a message is coming through. So there's a lot of anxiety, but still there's movement that's happening. But what's really interesting is on top of this, stepping out on your own, you know, going out, being independent, and you know, there's this other woman underneath that. But what's crazy is what falls on top of that is the King of Wands, which is this counterpart to the Queen of Wands. So it's like, yeah, you're stepping out on your own, or that's what you're telling yourself. But actually, the truth underneath all of that is that these people belong together, you know. But maybe you're not able to acknowledge that to yourself from your current circumstance or where you are, or, you know. But, you know, on a deeper level, this is propelling some movement forward, you know. And maybe this will come to the surface in the future, or, you know, but right now it's not. It's just, it's an underlying energy. So that's really interesting, but that's good, you know. It's not like something untoward is happening, you know. It's all on the up and up, but there's some deep, maybe feelings that are propelling this movement. And then, yeah, so when I pull out the Goddess Guidance, because I'm getting some guidance from some oracle cards at the end here. And we've got Mott, fairness. The situation will be handled in a fair and just manner. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because obviously this moving on is causing heartbreak for someone. And so maybe that's why it can't be acknowledged, that there's this true love here. And so in order to be fair to this person, it's best for this to go out on their own first. And then I'm going to pull one more card from the Gateway Oracle, because we are rounding out a decade here, and see if we can get some guidance on moving through this transition, because it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it looks like a big change. Oh. Soaring into joy, childlike wonder fills my life. So it's just like, yeah, we're kind of stepping out into the unknown, and there's some uncertainty, you know. There's a deep feeling that's maybe propelling the movement forward, but we don't really know what we're stepping into at this point. We're just kind of making a move and letting the pieces fall where they may. But you know, where that's going to lead is a little bit unknown. But, you know, go towards your joy, go towards happiness, because ultimately that's always a good move. So yeah, tomorrow is New Year's Eve, so actually, yeah, this will be kind of a New Year's Eve reading. So that seems like an epic way to end it. It's just sort of like breaking away from the old and stepping into the unknown, you know. And it's like you have a deep feeling about where you want to go, but for right now, it's kind of it's wide open. So that's beautiful. All right, well, Happy New Year, and I guess I'll check in with you in 2020.